Welcome to my channel. So I'm sitting here in my car on my lunch break because I had to work from the office today. So I've just been like sitting here scrolling through the clock app, right, just to pass time, and I keep seeing all of these think pieces on single motherhood, and it just finally got to me today. I was like, you know what? This is just getting out of hand. It's getting ridiculous. Why are single moms always under attack? Of course, it's a lot of men that bash single moms, but I've been seeing a lot of women. Like, I've been seeing so many other women bashing these single moms, and it's like, do people understand that once you have a child, whether you're married, whether you're in a relationship, you know, whatever the case may be, like once you have a child, at any given point in time, you can become a single mom. Like, your spouse could cheat, they could be like a pathological liar, they could pass away, they could literally die at any given point in time, and you will be a single parent. You never know what can happen. And I feel like a lot of these single moms are not just choosing single motherhood. A lot happens before they get to that point where they decide that it's just better for them to be a single parent and raise their kids on their own. I'm pretty sure most single moms are not just choosing single motherhood just for the fun of it. Like, they're not just doing it just because. I just really don't understand why I'm always seeing so much discourse on single motherhood. I hardly ever see anything about absent fathers, deadbeat fathers, whatever you want to call them. And the only people I see talking about absent or deadbeat fathers is the single mother who is taking care of the kids. Other than that, in general, people don't really care too much about a deadbeat dad. Like, other women will still date that person and not even care. The single mom always gets blamed. Like, we know it takes two to make a baby. I just don't understand why the single moms are always the ones being bashed when they are the ones providing for those kids. They're the ones making sacrifices for those kids. And then when they speak up about it, people just tell them, oh, well, you should have chose better. Like, I even saw this video of this mom dropping her kids off at CVS because she'd just given up and she'd had no help from the fathers. But all the comments were just bashing her, saying, oh, I would not do this to my kids. You're traumatizing those kids. They're just bashing her. Like, no one's talking about, like, nobody's asking where the father's at. No one's saying that at all. The men are hardly ever held accountable. And sometimes I just really cannot believe this world that we live in. Seeing all of this every day just really gets me to thinking about, like, why I don't want any more kids. So I am a mom of two. I have two toddlers, a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old. My 1-year-old is 20 months to be exact. I love them to death. Like, I personally don't regret having my kids. I know I see a lot of women say that they actually regret having their kids. I don't regret mine, but there are things that I didn't think about or I didn't consider before I had my kids. And I feel like if more women considered these things, they probably would not want kids. Women already go through a lot in general, and after you decide to have kids, especially if you have multiple kids, you go through a lot more. So I want to tell y'all the reasons why I don't want any more kids and some of the things that I wish I would have known before having kids. So I'm just gonna like list all of my reasons out for you really quickly because my lunch break is almost over. So the first reason is because what I just talked about, which is single motherhood. As a woman, when you're deciding whether or not you want to have kids, you have to be prepared to do it alone. You can become a single mom at any point. That man can randomly leave you, he can die, you can leave him, and anything could happen. So you have to be mentally prepared to parent alone. And it may even be a situation to where you're a stay-at-home mom and he has to go to work. While he's away at work, you're gonna be solo parenting. I feel like you have to be mentally aware of that because babies are stressful. Going through postpartum is very stressful, and a lot of men just don't understand postpartum. They don't understand what women's bodies go through after having a baby. They don't understand all those emotions and all those feelings, and that tends to be when things start to get like rough in a relationship, and some men would much rather just leave than deal with that. I feel like for me, I've always remained so happy during motherhood because it's genuinely what I wanted for myself. But even when things got like hard, I wasn't like miserable because it's what I genuinely wanted for myself. And not only do you have to be prepared to solo parent, you have to be prepared to do it as if no one else was there to help you. Like, it does take a village, but a lot of women don't have that village. I didn't have a village with my first baby. I gave birth to her during the height of the pandemic, and during labor and delivery, no one was allowed in the hospital besides me and her dad. And once we were discharged home, we didn't want anyone around her because we didn't want our newborn baby to get sick. So our families didn't even get to meet her for months. And that was really tough on me because it was my first baby. I did not know what I was doing. I was home all day with her by myself while he was away at work. Things got really tough. It was really hard for me to process, you know, being a new mom, going through postpartum, like all the emotions that my body was going through. Becoming a new mom during the pandemic was a lot for me to process. So I can't even imagine like what other moms who also experience like gender disappointment and stuff like that. I can't imagine like how they feel. So yeah, for some women, you have to be prepared to not have a village. Like, even your friends who you thought were going to be your friends forever will walk away, like will not. Like, a lot of people just don't like kids, and once you become a parent, though, some of your friends just don't want to be around kids, and they may not want to just talk about mom stuff all day. They may not want to just do like mom things. I had a situation with one of my kid-free friends to where we just decided to not be friends anymore because me being around her with my two toddlers, my two messy toddlers who like to yell, scream, and waste their food and snacks everywhere. She just didn't like being around that, and that's okay. And for me, it's just like, I don't really care because I wanted to be a mom. That doesn't mean that everyone around me has to adapt. If you don't want to be a part of that, you don't have to. So yeah, some women don't always have that village when it comes to things like childcare, because childcare is very expensive, which leads me to the next reason why I don't want any more kids is because they are super duper expensive. Like, everything regarding a child is expensive. Labor and delivery, if you don't qualify for like Medicaid and stuff like that, labor and delivery is very expensive. I didn't realize just how expensive healthcare is until I got pregnant, because like prior to that, I didn't really have health expenses. Like the most expensive thing I'd had was like dental bills. After I gave birth to my first daughter, like when I first got the final bill in the mail, I was flabbergasted. And it's not just healthcare. Everything is expensive when it comes to a child. Their healthcare, their daycare. Daycare is way too expensive. I've been lucky enough to avoid daycare because I do have a live-in nanny, and I've been even lucky with that because my live-in nanny is my kid's paternal grandmother, and she has been such a financial relief. Back to the whole village thing, if you don't have a village, you gotta have money. You have to have money to pay for help. Even clothing is very expensive, especially when you still have younger kids who are constantly growing and you're constantly having to change out their wardrobe every few months. Very expensive. Like, food is very expensive right now. Like, I never in a million years thought that I would spend as much money on food that I do now. Like, my toddlers are in their fruit phase right now. They love like blueberries, strawberries, and all that stuff. And fruits are expensive. So the next reason why I don't want any more kids is because I don't get any sleep at all. I am so sleep deprived, it's insane. I haven't slept like throughout the night, a full night, since I gave birth to my first daughter back in 2020. I have not slept a full night because they're waking up crying, they're having a bad dream, they can't sleep, or they're just not tired, they're sick, they're coughing, running noses. You know, a lot of reasons why they don't just sleep. Like, even when they're not waking me up, like, my body just naturally wakes up to check on them, like to make sure they're still breathing, or my youngest baby is still being breastfed. And that's another reason why I don't want any more kids, is because I'm so ready to be done breastfeeding. I've been breastfeeding for 4 years straight now. I got a little bit of a break in 2022. Right before I had my second daughter, I stopped breastfeeding my first daughter so my body could focus on growing my new baby. So I got like a 5-month break. But other than that, I have been breastfeeding for 4 years now. My boobs are tired, they're saggy, they're over it. Like, I love actually breastfeeding. Like, I love having that bond with my daughter. Like, when I'm breastfeeding, like, I just feel so in love and connected to my babies. But I just don't want to breastfeed anymore. So I feel like I shouldn't have any more kids, because if you're having kids, you should be prepared to give them the best that I can give them. So if I'm not like willing to make like necessary sacrifices to give that child like the best life possible. I'm just not gonna bring it into this world. And I feel like that's another reason why I don't want to have any more kids, is because the older my kids get, the more selfish I can be. I'm ready to be like selfish with my body again. Like, I literally gave up on my boobs long ago, and I'm just ready to get my body back. Like, as long as I'm breastfeeding, I feel like my body belongs to my baby. Like, I can't even eat certain things. Like, I don't drink alcohol anyways, but like, you're not supposed to drink alcohol. Like, it's, you know, all this stuff. Like, you cannot be selfish. Like, when you're a parent, it's really hard to be selfish. Like, everything is always going to be about your kids. Every decision that you make, everything that you do, is at the end of the day, it's all about the kids. So the last thing I have time to talk about in this video is time. Like, once you have kids, you hardly have any time to yourself. And one of the things that I have been enjoying as my kids get older is getting my time back to myself. Just like, you know, to have like my self-care days. Once you become a mother, like, your schedule revolves around your kids' schedule. Like, if they go to school, if they go to daycare or anything, your schedule revolves around that, and you hardly ever have any me time. But as my kids get older, I'm getting some of that time back to myself, and I'm really enjoying that. So if I was to have another baby right now, it's like I would be starting over from scratch. I would have to breastfeed for another at least 2 years. So I feel like 2 years, I know a lot of people stop before then, but I feel like for me, I always try to reach that 2-year mark. If you don't have like that support system, you don't have that village, you don't have that money to be paying for daycare and nannies and all that stuff, then you're with your kids all the time. But yeah, you guys, that's my little mini rant for the day. Deciding to have kids is a very tough decision to make, and I feel like we should be thinking about everything. And I feel like we should just be thinking about everything, even the small things, when making that decision. Thank you guys so much for watching.